Welcome back, fam. I'm Takunda Mabika, and this is Southern Africa Breaking News, the only place where we mix facts, fire, and that one friend who always knows too much. Before we get into this explosive update, do the wise thing. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment. Because what you're about to hear is what they don't want trending. Okay, let's talk. This afternoon, our now famous inside source, Government Ghost, sent us a voice note that made me spill my tea. And not because of nerves, because finally, things are moving. According to him, today was the day something was going to shift. He said, "There are plans for a visible military movement. It won't be everywhere at once, but you will see signs. Watch Harare and Bulawayo." I asked him twice, "Are you sure?" He replied, "Watch the streets by late afternoon." Now fast forward just 2 hours later. Our phone doesn't stop ringing. Call 1. Harare, a guy near Kuwadzana, calls us saying, "Guys, there's a convoy moving towards the CBD. Not police, these are green." Call 2, Glen Nora. Someone else says, "Bro, it's quiet, but something feels off. Saw army trucks parked near a fuel station." Call 3, Borrowdale. "Something is going down. I just saw 5 trucks pass the mall." Call 4. This one shook me. A sister from Bulawayo calls us with that serious Matabeleland tone. "Takunda, Ngiyakulumanje, there's a military convoy near 5th Avenue. What's going on?" Let me tell you something. When Bulawayo and Harare start talking in the same hour, something is bubbling. Now let's zoom out and ask the big question. Is this the real signal? Is this the moment we've been waiting for? The first visible sign that something under the surface has snapped? Let's rewind to yesterday. Blessed Geza, the man people now call Digital Nahanda, posted a new video on his platform. Calm voice. Cool as ever. And he said something that many people brushed off. The plan is still in motion. Don't let the silence fool you. The next move is quiet, but you will see the signs. Now,
Okay, so let's dive in. We're seeing reports, pretty credible ones, of visible military movement in Harare and Bulawayo.
Right, that's the immediate thing catching everyone's eye.
But here's the twist. This happens almost exactly when this online figure, Digital Nanda, drops a pretty cryptic message.
Yeah, Digital Nanda, known for his, let's say, pointed commentary on Zimbabwean affairs.
So the big question for you listening is, coincidence? Or are these, connected dots in a bigger picture?
That's exactly what we're trying to piece together in this deep dive. We've got 2 main sources you flagged, YouTube transcripts.
Right.
One's from Southern Africa Breaking News, really focusing on those military sightings on the ground. And the other's from Zimbabwe Unfiltered. They covered a pretty significant address by General Valerius Sabanda, KG6 Barracks.
Okay, 2 seemingly separate things.
Seemingly. Our mission here is to unpack them, pull up the key info for you, and sort of explore what it all might mean for Zimbabwe right now.
Let's start with the boots on the ground then. The Southern Africa Breaking News report. It wasn't just rumors, was it? They cited actual eyewitnesses.
Yeah, multiple accounts. The transcript mentions calls coming in about Harare, specifically areas like near Kwazana, Glen Nora, Bodale.
What were people saying?
Convoys, basically. Army personnel in their green uniforms heading towards the city center. Also, reports of military trucks parked in unusual spots.
Not just Harare, though.
No, crucially, they got a similar report from Bulawayo, too, near 5th Avenue specifically, so multiple cities involved.
And the timing. That's what really jumps out. This kicked off just hours after some kind of tip-off, right?
Exactly. The channel mentioned a source they call a government ghost, an insider, presumably.
And this ghost predicted.
What?
Predicted visible military movement in Harare and Bulawayo, and then boom, it happens.
Wow, okay.
Now, Takunda Mabika, the host over at Southern Africa Breaking News, he was cautious. He pointed out, we're not talking tanks rolling up to State House, not that level, at least not yet. So not a coup in progress, necessarily.
Right, but he did stress the potential symbolism of these deployments.
Symbolic. How? Like, what's the message if it's not an outright takeover?
Well, a few possibilities. Could just be a classic show of force, a reminder of who has the capacity.
Flexing muscles.
Kind of. Or, as Mabika suggested, maybe it's a signal aimed at the government itself, like, hey, you're not the only power player here.
A warning shot, almost.
Possibly. There's also talk about psychological warfare, using these movements to create unease, uncertainty, maybe influence public mood without direct fighting.
Which connects back to this Geza signal and digital Nanda. That sounds like coded language his followers would get.
It seems that way. The transcript doesn't give us the whole backstory on Geza signal, but it's presented as something his audience was sort of anticipating, a signifier.
And what exactly did Nanda say?
So, Blessed Geza, that's digital Nanda, he posted the day before these sightings started. He said, let me get the quote right. "The plan is still in motion. Don't let the silence fool you. The next move is quiet, but you will see the signs."
You will see the signs.
Oh.
Okay, and then maybe 24 hours later, you get army convoys in the streets.
Yep. It's hard to ignore that sequence, isn't it?
Makes you really wonder, is this the sign he meant? Like the YouTube post asked.
It's the million-dollar question right now. And it naturally pushes us to think about, well, what's bubbling under the surface in Zimbabwe that could lead to stuff like this?
Are there known tensions within the military itself?
That's what the Southern Africa Breaking News report touches on next. They bring up intel from another source, someone called General Silence.
General Silence, okay. And what's the intel?
It suggests a pretty significant chunk, maybe 60% of the ground soldiers are sympathetic to something called Gaia's vision.
Gaia's vision. What does that mean, practically speaking? Is it about change?
The transcript doesn't spell it out explicitly, but yeah, the context heavily implies it's about wanting a different direction for the country, a fundamental shift.
And why would soldiers feel that way? What are the alleged reasons?
Several things mentioned. Feeling like they're just pawns in a larger game while their own families struggle back home.
Economic hardship.
That seems key. They're apparently aware of the alleged corruption at higher levels, these USD loot stories, ministerial privileges.
Right, while they're dealing with...
Exactly. Things like having to share boots, feeling disrespected by some superiors. So it's not just about money. It sounds like a crisis of morale, maybe even legitimacy.
And this Gaia figure, or GZA as it's sometimes written?
Yeah, presumably the same person.
Their message is resonating. Something about not a revolution, it's a reset.
Precisely. That reset language. It could appeal to junior officers who feel stuck, maybe looking for a renewed sense of purpose, something different from just maintaining the status quo. It sounds less drastic than revolution.
Interesting framing. Now, what about the official response from Zanu-PF, the ruling party?
That's another notable point from the Southern Africa Breaking News report. They describe the reaction or lack thereof as eerily quiet, meaning Zanu-PF usually jumps on things like this. Press conferences, denials, strong statements, even for minor perceived threats. But this time, silence.
Which could mean anything, really. Uncertainty, a deliberate strategy.
Hard to say for sure, but the silence itself is significant given their usual playbook.
Okay, so that sets the stage pretty well. The movements, the Nanda message, the alleged internal military tensions, the official silence.
Exactly. Now let's bring in the second piece. General Valerio Sabanda's address. This was at the KG6 barracks, covered by Zimbabwe Unfiltered.
Right.
This is the moment Zimbabwe has been waiting for, something historic, something bold, and something that could change the course of the nation. Welcome back to Zimbabwe Unfiltered, your #1 stop for raw, real, and revolutionary stories from the heart of the nation. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and get ready, because what we're about to reveal will leave you breathless. Today, we take you straight into the Lion's Den, KG6 military barracks. A place shrouded in mystery, power, and national secrets. But today, the veil has been lifted. For the first time in a long while, General Valerio Sabanda, the commander of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, stepped forward and broke his silence. And when he spoke, everything changed. Picture this: early morning, the barracks are still, the air thick with tension. Soldiers standing in formation, eyes fixed ahead. Then, the gates swing open. A convoy rolls in, polished to perfection. Out steps the man himself, General Valerio Sabanda. Calm, collected, with a presence that sends a ripple through the crowd. Cameras roll. The atmosphere is electric. And then, he speaks. His voice echoes through the parade ground, sharp, steady, and commanding. He doesn't mince words. He addresses corruption.
What was the atmosphere like there? The report mentioned cameras.
Yeah, cameras present, soldiers gathered, described as an electric atmosphere. And then Sabanda, the head of the defense forces, steps up to speak.
And what did he focus on? What were his main points?
He hit several big themes. Corruption was one which, as we just discussed, seems to be a major sore point.
Directly addressing that.
Directly. He also talked about the general state of the nation, called for real patriotism defined by honesty, sacrifice, vision. Things he implied were maybe lacking.
Did he talk about the military itself? Discipline?
Oh yeah, big time. He vowed to restore discipline within the ranks, and he explicitly condemned anyone using military power for personal gain. Basically said, we're drawing a line here.
Strong words.
And then came what the report called the bombshell.
Yep.
He announced a new internal audit, looking into billions with a B of dollars in procurement contracts.
Whoa. Billions.
Yeah.
An internal audit.
Yep. And he also, apparently, admitted to past abuses, signaling an end to cover-ups. It's a huge statement.
That is huge. Admitting past wrongs, promising scrutiny.
And he wrapped it up with a call for unity. Unity within the army, yes, but also across all of Zimbabwe, framing the current situation as a fight for the nation's soul, essentially.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So, how do we connect this speech to the troop movements we talked about earlier?
That's the big puzzle, isn't it? What's the relationship here?
Were the deployments, like, setting the stage for his speech? A show of force to back him up?
That's one theory. Create the right atmosphere. Show strength before making these big pronouncements.
Or was the speech a response to the tensions that maybe caused the deployments in the first place?
That's the other possibility. Maybe the troop movements were a symptom of the unrest, the discontent we discussed, the Gaya's vision, sympathy.
And Sabanda's speech was his attempt to regain control, address those grievances head on.
Exactly. You could read it as a genuine reform effort, trying to clean house, tackle corruption, win back the trust of the rank and file, address the very issues that might be making soldiers restless.
But there are other interpretations too, right? The report mentioned social media reactions.
For sure. Some people online were apparently hailing him as a hero, a potential savior.
But others were more skeptical.
Definitely. Questions about his real motives, whispers of a soft coup using the appearance of reform to consolidate power, or maybe even sparking a new revolution himself. It's all over the place.
So genuine reformer or power play, we don't know yet.
We don't. But whatever the motive, the timing is undeniable. This is all happening when Zimbabwe is facing serious economic strain, rising tensions, and you've got a huge youth population that's, well, likely pretty hungry for change.
It feels like a critical moment.
It really does. So just to recap for you listening, we've got this unexplained, visible military presence in Harare and Bulawayo, preceded by that cryptic, "You will see the signs" message from Digital Manda.
Right.
Followed very closely by a major speech from the Defense Force Chief, General Sabanda, promising internal military reform, tackling corruption, and calling for unity.
So many pieces,
Yeah.
but the final picture is still blurry.
Absolutely. What was the real purpose of those troop movements?
Wow.
What are the actual concrete consequences going to be from Sabanda's speech? Will heads roll because of that audit? Lots of unanswered questions.
Which leads to that final thought we should leave you with.
Yeah, are these events, the street movements, the Nanda message, Sabanda's speech, are they actually separate things? Or are they maybe different sides of the same coin? Different facets of a much bigger shift happening under the surface in Zimbabwe?
And if it is a bigger shift, what's driving it? Power struggles, genuine desire for reform, external factors.
All possibilities. It's clearly a situation that's still unfolding. We'll need to keep watching, keep analyzing the information as it comes in to really understand what's going on.
Definitely one to keep a close eye on.